Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, out there. This is an exclusive interview by the Flex Zone. Yours truly, Andre Melton, right here. I am joined by Mr. Eddie Johnson as we discuss his upcoming book on college sports athletics. How are you doing, sir?
Doing great. How are you doing?
Doing fine, sir. We appreciate the time and the opportunity for this interview. How did this come about, this book of yours?
I was actually doing a lot with the platform. We had already released bscensports.com and had all the tools and the profile information, all that good stuff. And then while we were going around the different events around the country, ran into this coach from a college, Leah Bernier. Woman is awesome, just absolutely amazing. And her and I just hit it off. And as we're speaking, she whips out this book. And she goes, "I'm nowhere near finished, but I just want you to see it." I started looking at the book, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly what we're working on right now." And she goes, "Really?" So we started talking and collaborating, and she had a lot of insights, being that she's a coach at a college, and she also played D1 volleyball herself. So she knew the whole process from the outside looking in and from the inside looking out. What we needed to do was put the book in a way that it was actionable the second you pick it up, that it was informative the second that you started reading it. And so, I took my project management skills and said, okay, this is how it has to be done, and we need to do this, need to do that, and now we came up with the book. It's kind of fun.
Interesting way how you came about with the book, and I see that the book is very in-depth. Can you take us through the in-depthness of the book and why you made it particularly that way?
Yeah, one of the reasons why Leah and I really hit it off is because we share the same disdain for the college recruiting, industry now. There's so many, services and people, and you got the whole college scandal that was going on that epitomizes a lot of what we don't like about what the process is, let alone just how expensive some of these services are. And so the reason why we wanted to make it so in depth is because the process is hard enough for student athletes to try to wade through, them and their parents to try to wade through, let alone having to spend so much money just to find out that it wasn't the service that you paid, it was the work that you put in that actually got you the scholarship, or at least got you the look. And that's what the idea is. So
based upon that, how should parents then go about choosing, parents and students go about choosing the right college for them, both on a academic and athletic level?
Well, the first step is we have something called the Be Seen Sports Lifestyle approach, where we tell parents, don't have a conversation about college. That's probably one of the dumbest things that you can do, and it's only because it's overwhelming for everybody involved in that conversation. It's overwhelming for the student athlete. It's overwhelming for the parent. Parents thinking about the money. Student athletes thinking about, oh my God, I'm going to be an adult now. So it's a very touchy subject, and it can be very overwhelming. Instead, you want to know what kids really like to talk about? Their dreams and aspirations. So start talking to them about what they think their lifestyle is going to be. Once you understand what their lifestyle is going to be, you can actually put numbers on that. You can actually say, well, I want this size house. I mean, I'm not talking about the whole DJ Khaled aspiration and all that good stuff. I'm talking about reality. Just realistically, you have your parents to compare, so you kind of have an idea about the kind of life you want to live. The house size, the car, vacations, things like that you can actually put numbers on. Then you track back to what kind of jobs can you have that can afford you that lifestyle. Maybe I just want a halfway decent house in the burbs and, white picket fence, 2.2 kids, and that's it. Then you start thinking about, well, great, I've picked out the careers that can afford me, that kind of lifestyle. Now, what's the education that I need and the work experience that it requires to have those jobs? And you start to see that you're starting to funnel down. Now you actually figure out, wow, what are the schools that can give me that education? So now you've kind of backed into the whole college, idea or conversation without having a conversation specifically about colleges. Because now you have a finite set of schools that can give you the education that you're interested in based on the careers that you want to follow. And what that does is you're starting at your end game and you're walking backwards, and it's kind of an auditing process. It's done in accounting a lot. And when you do that, you get a straight line between 2 points. When you walk forward, I can veer off to the left, I can veer off to the right, up, down, side to side, whatever, just because of the shiny new thing. But if I actually have my path, I'm always going to know what that straight line is, and it's going to be a more conscious decision when I stray off that path. And if I do happen to stray off the path, I can get back to it relatively easily because I have that path. So you plan backwards and you execute forward. So
in total, those are the 4 steps the 4 stages of the lifestyle approach. That's half, right? Because you're doing it. Let me try again in English. Take your time.
It's an 8-stage approach, right? You're doing the same 4 steps, except you're executing or you're planning in one direction, and you're literally executing in the other direction. And it gives you, like I said, a way of understanding what your path is, and even better, it gives your tribe, the people that are around you that are there to help you, an idea about what your path is, so that they can sit with you and they can say, well, hey, I kind of noticed you're veering off your path a little bit. Have you changed an idea about where you want to be when you're older? So, for instance, my son, plays football, plays baseball, got many offers from different schools, and we use my car. He likes to say that my car is his office. Mm-hmm. And so even though he has his license, we'll go for a drive. And we kind of say to each other, hey, what's going on in your world? And we explain to each other what's going on in our world. And it gives me an opportunity to put the finger on the pulse of my son, to be able to say, well, does he still want to be a businessman? Does he still want to be a consultant like Dad? Does he still want to take over the family business? Is that still his dream? Because the one thing I'm wary about is I don't want my dream to be his dream. I want his dream to be his dream. And that's what enables us to have those kind of open conversations, because now, we're not talking about me. I'm actually removed from that process. It's all about him. And that keeps us on track. We're able to say, well, yeah, I still want to do that. It's just that, this opportunity came up, that opportunity came up, and I really wanted to get with you, Dad, so that, we can kind of break down these opportunities and see what it is. And when those opportunities popped up, it was kind of like, no, you're exactly on your path. You're exactly on your path, because recognizing opportunities in business, that is your job. So, like I said, you do that 8-stage process. The 4. Like you're right. It's the 4 steps done twice, backwards and forwards. And if you do that, the conversation that you have with your student athlete is going to be a lot easier, a lot less anxiety about the subject. Where you're going to go. By the time you get to the point where you're figuring out what college you want to go to, you're literally just trying to understand big college, small college, things like that. The nature of the college itself, as opposed to, did they like me? Do they like me? Does this one like me? What kind of money? No. You get to track back. And it's a lot easier of a conversation, and actually a lot easier to actually, find things out, about the school specifically.
How often should you repeat these steps? Is it quarterly through the semester, at the beginning and at the semester? How often should you ask yourself, go through the stages rather, with both the athlete and the student, with both the parents and the student athletes themselves going through the stages?
So you should do it as often as you want. It's funny is when I do the speaking engagements, at different places, and even the one-on-ones with student athletes and their parents, parents often stop and go, wow, I can do this right now. Like, yeah, you can do that right now. You can do that yearly, you can do it quarterly. It really depends on, have you thought things through? And as you keep going through the steps and going through the process, you start to realize, oh, I have this color to add to it. I have this color to add to it. The more color you add, the more robust your picture is, and the more actionable everything becomes. So you can do it as often as you want. I would probably recommend that you do it until you feel you've memorized every step in your flow. Understand what your path is, and if you can state to yourself, this is what my path is, and this is everything I have to do for my path. I've figured out all the details along my path, and now it's just a matter of walking my path. Okay, you've done a good job. Then now you can move that to a yearly event where you can make sure that you're still on the appropriate path.
Now, is it possible to go through the steps and still choose the wrong college?
Of course. Nothing in this world is perfect. You can definitely still choose the wrong college, but you're probably not going to choose a horrible college. That college, it might wind up being that you got to the college and you thought that the feel of the college was one way, but the feel of the college, wound up being a different way. But you're probably not going to mess up on the college choice all too much, because you're going based on a finite set of colleges that fit your educational needs. Then you're looking at sports, because the term is student athlete. Mm-hmm. So once you've done that, you can actually say, well, let's suppose I wound up choosing SUNY Binghamton, up here in New York. Well, that's great. I chose SUNY Binghamton. But you know what? SUNY Binghamton is a huge school. It's got a huge campus. You might as well just say all of Binghamton is SUNY. But maybe that was too big. It's too big of a campus and not enough of a city vibe, right? So you kind of say, maybe I should have chosen, a school that was closer to New York City, since that's where I'm going to find my career. You can make a mistake like that. And you can make almost any mistake, but your mistakes are most likely going to be, in terms of the type of college that you're going to, as opposed to what you're going to get out of that college educationally.
And for those of you right now on Facebook Live, this is an exclusive interview. This is your man, Andre Melton, in the building. The Flex Zone with the regular show, we are coming right up. But right now, we're doing an exclusive interview. If you have any students out there, any children out there who are on their way to college or currently in college, as they're making the decisions, go ahead, tune in for this interview, listen in, as Mr. Eddie Johnson right now is giving great tips on how to navigate through the collegiate process. So we went through the 4 stages, and we also talked about how it's still possible to choose the wrong college. But right now we're going through the steps in order to choose what's best for the student athlete, because we're making sure that academics is a part of the process in the beginning, because it should be about academics and then the athleticism on the back burner. So when you're choosing through colleges, and for the collegiate athlete, sports that have led in the past, currently are football and basketball. What about sports such as lacrosse, baseball, softball, volleyball, track, wrestling, and others, just to name a few?
Yeah, it's interesting that you should say that, because the fact is that all of those sports are still quite popular, right? So, for instance, women's basketball used to be the number one sport behind track and field, because track and field is not just a single sport, it's a bevy of sports. So when you look at women's basketball, it used to be number one. Do you want to know what the number one sport is now for women?
What is, sir?
It is volleyball. How nuts is that? Nobody saw that coming. The popularity of volleyball in the United States has grown to such high levels that it surpassed women's basketball. Around the world, it's also growing. I mean, there are big leagues around the world where women can graduate from college and then go pro. You can go to Italy, you can go to Milan and go pro. Those were options that didn't exist before. It's almost like basketball in its infancy, where, before there were no options like that. But now, if you don't make it to the WNBA, mind you, that's only 144 positions that are possibly open. You can go overseas and play and have a great career. I know somebody that's doing that right now. She's in her eighth. She's actually just finished her 8th season, just signed a guaranteed 2-year contract, and that'll take her to 10 years. And then even then, she's not sure if she's going to be ready to quit. Jory Davis, she's also another awesome person. It's about the work that you put in, and she epitomizes putting in that work. She was one of those people that, you'll be okay, you'll be all right. But she wound up becoming a Hoosier and became, the 8th highest scoring Hoosier in Hoosier history. And then she made it to the WNBA and then didn't make the cut. And that didn't stop her. The same way it didn't stop her from getting into a great college when she was going from high school. She said, "All right, well, I didn't make it into the WNBA. You know what? I'm gonna go overseas." Boom, she's over in Israel, having fun. Then she bounces to Italy. She goes to Spain, and she's been traveling the world on somebody else's dime. And mind you, she graduated from college with a degree. And she's actually putting that degree to work right now. Talk about having a plan. I mean, this woman is ready to rock and roll. And that's what we want to give to all of these student athletes that are out there. That's why we wrote the book. That's why we have the platform. Be Seen Sports is all about getting the tools to the people that need it most without breaking their bank. That's why the book is cheaper. That's why our platform is cheaper. I mean, there are platforms out there that claim to do what we do, provide similar services. They don't, but they cost 10 times as much.
Again, thank you all for listening. Right now, everybody live, we're doing an exclusive interview. This is Andre. We are coming up on the Flex Zone with a regular show. We'll get into NBA. We'll get into MLB. Cravante's going to have his Goofy of the Week. We will have all of that. But right now, I'm doing an exclusive interview with Mr. Eddie Johnson about his book. If you have any student athletes, any students getting ready to head to college or who are already in college, this is the interview right here that you guys need to listen to, because this is a crucial book that's going to give you the information needed to help the students throughout their collegiate career. So we're coming up towards the end of the interview real soon. We would definitely love to have you back, Mr. Johnson, because this is information that's definitely needed for people. I want to ask you a couple questions, though, before we get up out of here. Do you think the college athletes deserve to get paid?
Wow. All right, let me put it to you like this. Our process, we tell student athletes that your process begins in 8th grade. It sounds like a little long. It sounds like it doesn't have anything to do with this, but just wait for it, like everybody said, just wait for it. So your process starts in 8th grade, right? You've got to get good grades in 8th grade so you can be put on the right track in high school. Because if you're put on the dum-dum track, you're not going to do well, and colleges aren't going to care about you because you're on the dum-dum track. If you're on the normal track, well, maybe you'll get a look or two, whatever, but your athleticism had better shine because your academics are not shining. But if you do well in 8th grade and you get placed on the right track, well, now colleges want to know who you are. Why? Because you've already got the educational checkbox. They've got the educational checkbox done. Now they just have to talk about, well, what are your qualifications as an athlete, right? And the reason why I bring that up is because imagine the work that you have to put in starting in 8th grade, hitting the books and putting in the smart work for everything you have to do as a student athlete. 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th, that's 5 years of work before you hit college. Then when you hit college, you've got to put in probably around 30-plus hours if you're at a D2, D1. If you're at a D1, you're talking like 40. That's a lot of work to put in, and I mean work. You're giving up hanging out with your friends. You're giving up those parties. You're giving up a lot of stuff to be on that team, to have that scholarship. D1, D2. D1 is all about the sport. D2 is kind of midway between sport and education, and D3 is mostly about education, and you play the sports for fun. That's great. Again, but that's a lot of work starting from 8th grade, and now you're up to college. So putting in all of that work, and then realizing that the colleges make a great deal of money depending on what level they're at for having these college sports. Well, I'm not necessarily going to say that, athletes should get paid because, your education is kind of that payment. But I would say that I'd like to see some rules changed, right? I'd like to see, guaranteed education. If you draft a kid or you pick a kid from a high school, they commit, they go to the school, and, they play the sport, and second year, end of the first year, they get injured. That kid shouldn't have to worry about going to school. That should be the least of their worries. That kid is going to go through a lot trying to figure out, are they ever going to play again, all these other things. They shouldn't have to worry about education. Education done, right? Mm-hmm. Then you start to think about, how much money do these colleges make? And these colleges are making millions. Depending on the school that you're going into, they're making millions, and it's public. You can go look that up. You really can. So if you think about how much money these colleges make from putting these sports on television and things like that, you sit back and you start to realize, wow, maybe we need to rethink this. How you rethink it is one thing, but I think that it does warrant a rethought.
Right. How did this become a process, obtaining athletes as soon as 8th grade? Like, how did it become a trend?
A trend? Wow. I think it's since day one. It's always been like that, right? They started thinking about, you start playing sports, and because college was supposed to be something that it made you into a well-rounded individual. And sports and athleticism, that was one of the things that made you into a well-rounded individual, along with everything that you're learning. But now it's become such a big business because you get to watch people play the sport that a lot of other people love, right? And they'll actually come and watch you play. Oh, better yet, they'll come and pay to watch you play. It's a natural evolution of how that works. But shouldn't some of that money be given to the people that are actually doing the work? Because the machine's already started, the machine's already running. You're going to make a lot of money. So if you for instance, if you're watching basketball, you're making millions. If you're on television, you're making millions off of these kids, playing basketball. Does it actually cost millions to have these kids play? Not really. So giving them an education, making sure that, that's a guarantee. Should they have a salary? I don't know, but there should be a solid compensation package that says they don't have to worry about certain things. It's all good. They have all kinds of rules against kids, doing endorsement deals while they're in college, because they're quote unquote amateurs and all that good stuff. So a college kid can't earn money in any other way, but they have to dedicate themselves to this sport in order to, continue their education or continue along their path. Yeah, I think that takes a lot of thought, and I think it's a natural evolution between when colleges and universities started way back in the day to where they are now. Everything starts to catch up, and everything starts to kind of evolve, and this is where we're at right now.
All right, last question for you, Mr. Johnson, and thank you, everybody, for tuning in right now with this exclusive interview. Our regular show is going to come up real soon. NBA, MLB, you name it. There's a lot to talk about in sports, but right now we had to give you guys this interview. Lastly, how do people obtain your book, sir?
You can go to collegerecruiting101.com, and you can obtain it there. You can also go to bseensports.com and obtain it there. All
right. Thank you, sir, for the interview. Again, we appreciate having you here. I hope everybody who tuned in learned something. I know I definitely did. Here on the Flex Zone, we definitely appreciate you. Thank you, sir, for your time. And one more time, please let the people know how to obtain the book.
collegerecruiting101.com, and follow us via BScene Sports on Twitter, Instagram, and, come let us help you. Let us help you get there. Let us, explain how and break it down for you about how everything works so that you don't have to spend a lot of money and a lot of time achieving your goal. I mean, you put the work in, but you should be putting in smart work.
And how much is the book, sir?
The book is only $39.95.
$39.95.
A lot less than a lot of other things you're going to spend money on, and well worth it. From page one, you're learning something.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay tuned. The Flex Zone. We've got MLB. We've got NBA, free agency. Who would ever thought Kawhi Leonard to the Clippers, right? But the fellas are joining me real soon. Cravante still has his Goofy of the Week. And then don't forget, please stay tuned. The debate of the day, we're talking about U.S. women, their soccer team, and the disparity in being paid for the women versus the men. It's the Flex Zone, y'all.
I was on the phone for that one.
It's the Flex Zone, y'all. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.